is that?
The Pentagon has confirmed the existence of the $22 million initiative that studied UFOs for at least 5 years, beginning in 2007, and they released video.
Some people find what we call UFOs terrifying, or they just want to dismiss it and say it's all nonsense.
I'm not joking. With it. Look at how
It's really not all nonsense, but it's not what you think it is either.
They're very large. 9 feet, 10 foot, I don't know, they're like humans to us. They're shiny eyes and they're not humans. They're 100% they're not humans.
It turns out there was a UFO program in the Pentagon, secretly studying us for years.
There is something there. There is something provably there. And at least initially, it cannot be explained.
When it comes to the UAP problem, the rules have changed. I mean, the best evidence is what your government is doing about it.
Now, just a short time ago, Senator Reid responded to CNN saying he's, quote, proud of this program and its groundbreaking studies.
First off, introduce yourself and let me know what you do and how you're even related to this.
I'm Gary Nolan. I'm a professor in the Department of Pathology at Stanford University School of Medicine. And the principal lab is cancer research, but subcellular cancer research. So we look at cells in cancer tissues. When you're trying to understand the basics of something, really what you're doing is you're tearing something apart down to its most foundational constituents, and you're saying, how do they get put together? And we say, this therapy with this arrangement does well, and this arrangement, they die. Rules. It's the basics of science. Several years ago, some people who were associated with the CIA and an aerospace company came to my office one day unannounced, and they said, hey, we need to talk to you because people say that you have a blood analysis tool, and we're doing complete medical workups of these people who claim to have interactions with something, whatever it is, and it was varied, 100 different people. But we have all of this medical data, including like MRIs of their brains and all the rest. Since you have the best blood analysis, we need your help. And then they started talking about UAP, or UFOs. And I thought it was a joke. I really did. I actually thought there was some sort of a camera moment. I was looking around like, okay, well, there's a bridgeway over there. Is there a camera that's looking at me? Am I gonna, is this a big joke? But no, they were very deadly serious.
Did the data point to a conclusion of the understanding of
Well, I mean, the understanding that we saw, at least with the brain scans that we had, was that it was random patches of white matter disease, dead tissue in the brain.
all of them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. At first glance, it looks like multiple sclerosis. You get these random white matter patches in the brain, and as those patches progress, people lose more and more function and control over their body. These look similar at first glance, but they're non-progressive. And neurosis progresses unless you're going to be. So a few patches become 10 patches and they get larger. These cases were what we would call acute, non-progressive. Well, this is weird. They all seem to have this. At first we thought it was damage, but this was in living tissue. And so that's something that needs an explanation. How did a person get all of these lesions in their brain and they don't have multiple sclerosis? What happened to them?
I know slow cuts on airplanes not around good. Maybe the dragons have been released. Somebody pissed off Godzilla. I don't know what the hell is this. Whatever it is, it's shaking the house.
Now, as it turned out, the 100 events that we had, probably about 85 of them actually were Havana syndrome patients.
Havana syndrome.
Havana syndrome.
Havana syndrome, overt sonic weapon mystery illness which has affected U.S. diplomats.
Cause dizziness, nausea, even brain
Serious illness called. What is the Havana syndrome?
So there were situations around the world where our diplomatic corps were complaining of noises in their head, headaches, rashes, sickness, etc. And it's been generally determined that these are some sort of energy weapon which is being used to harass our diplomatic corps. I mean, this is known from way back in Moscow during the Soviet Union. It's not hard to do. You take the front mesh off of your microwave and stick your face in front of it and you'll find out exactly what an energy weapon is. And it turned out that 85 people that we had actually were Havana syndrome patients. But that left 15 people on the table. And we said, well, what's special about these people? Well, they were all extremely high functioning. They were all, in many cases, what you would call savants, right? They were 130, 140 IQ plus, right? Because these are gifted people. They were also pilots. And when you looked at their stories, they were entirely about UAPs.
Recent U.S. Navy pilots' cockpit footage and testimony about possible UAPs has caused a media frenzy.
No distinct wings, no distinct tail. It seemed like they were aware of our presence because they would actively move around us.
This video captured by a fighter pilot with a cell phone that shows a metallic object that you might miss if you blink.
3 key former military officials set to testify.
David Fravor, former Navy commander, who took video of a UAP.
As we looked around, we noticed a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings.
Former Navy pilot Lieutenant Ryan Graves calls whatever is out there a security risk. So you're seeing it both with the radar and with the infrared. And that tells you that there is something out there.
Pretty hard to speak for that. In my particular case, a couple weeks after I finished my training, I found myself out in the Middle East preparing for the combat operations. We conducted those operations for about 4 months and returned back to the eastern seaboard of the United States. We stopped upgrading some systems and doing repairs. We upgraded the radar system. When we did this, flying with a more advanced radar, we'd be seeing objects that were operating in the working areas that we hadn't seen just that morning. And that was really the status quo until we actually left on a workup cycle to join the USS Theodore Roosevelt off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. We were there that we filmed the Kimbo video. We all fly out together, do our training, and we fly back at the floor that's usually on the fly. Two aircrew that I know well were returning to the boat when they picked up radar contact of 4 or 5 objects that were flying in a gradual U formation. They were excited and nervous as they did.
short. It just said, if any of you have seen what these are, tell me ASAP. We're having numerous near mid-air collisions with these. And we're going to have to shut down the exercise if we don't resolve this. And attached was the now very famous Go Fast video. Subordinate commander. So this is about 20 admirals and senior executives who received it. The thing is, the next day that email was wiped from my computer and everybody else's, and no one talked about it when I went to monthly meetings with the commander and all the people who received that email, which I have a problem with, because this was a safety of flight issue, resulted in the pilots, Ryan Graves, having to mitigate his own safety threats with no senior officer supporting him, which is a big problem.
We've seen these things being stationary and moving with the wind. We've also seen them drifting against the wind in a very similar manner as well. And it looked like just a dark cube inside of a clear sphere. We've seen them maintain complete stationary behavior over a GPS location for extended periods of time in hurricane force winds. We don't understand how it's able to perform those even very basic maneuvers. We're seeing them in the morning, we're seeing them in the afternoon, we're seeing them in the evening. There's no break in all those behaviors. And so all of that combined is confusing and doesn't correlate with the technology that I'm aware of as a fighter.
This story has a way of engulfing you, whether you want it to or not.